Hello there, namaste. So again, the Primal Hunter Book 7. Yeah, this series is starting to feel like a bunch of little sequences patched together to continue the story, and I'm still enjoying it, but I was kind of hoping for the school life to take over, his basically haven to start becoming under threat because he stopped showing up. Everyone thought he disappeared. That's not really the case. We learned about like Carmen, the Rune Maiden's history, so he assists her to find her family. There's that story going on. He does attend the Prima seat thing, and we find out that that's probably a world's something, a world relic, and it's like that becomes important and something that he absolutely wants. There's a bunch of little things that it's just like it's just seeding more of the story. He meets another chosen from another world, which is the one crazy god. That's his chosen, the one that the Viper basically told him, oh, we can fight via proxy. So technically it is the Viper's fault. But I gotta say, there's so much going on. His Jake's personal attendant, you know, the person he ended up with that he didn't want, the elf, she is basically being taken advantage of, which is kind of sad. Even though she thinks she has friends, she's doing whatever she can. I'm just waiting for the scene where she invites them over and Jake basically destroys them for it. Because you find out that he is literally the second in command of Jake is the second in command of the entire order, basically, because he is the personal chosen of the leader. So even the other gods underneath the leader have to obey him, or at least see him as an equal. And it's pretty interesting. It's pretty interesting when the hierarchy's like that, because I guess chosens normally aren't picked at a low level. They're picked as when they see potential, and eventually. But I gotta say, I am enjoying it. I did not like, honestly, because the cover was him. You don't judge a book by its cover, but it was like, why is Jake fighting himself? And it turns out that he basically, through the simulation, is able to see what he would have become in an alternate reality. And then he ends up fusing with that version of himself, and it takes advantage of the fact that we know, well, Jake never learned how to fight properly. He uses instinct, and then he finds a version of himself that uses his instinct to create his own fighting style, which starts training the real Jake. And it's interesting. I like it. I really do like it, but it's just like, come on. There is so much going on in this story. All these things. I'm just waiting for the secret to come out in the school, because it ends with him back at school, and I'm like, okay, is that how it's gonna go? It's like it starts out at the school, then we get the story on Earth, then he's back at school. I mean, that's how it ends. I'm kind of hoping that he spends some time away, because there's something to be said when things can progress without you, and Jake has realized that things can progress without him. Maybe he won't return. Maybe the next book is the one where he spends his entire time in school, because, well, the next World Conference isn't for another year or so. So he doesn't, or at least a few months or whatever it is, so he doesn't need to worry for a while. But yeah, it is enjoyable, because like what Carmen, the Rune Maiden, chooses to do is like, well, I would have done the same. That family was absolute garbage and needed to be taken out. But it's I gotta say, I do enjoy it. There's just so many little things going on that in the end, it's just like, this book feels like it feels more like it's a volume for manga, where you read through like almost an entire arc, but there's so many little stories going on of each character, but in the end it's one huge thing, and then you continue on to the next volume. Well, technically even worse, it's basically volumes. It's not an entire volume, well, yeah, it's basically a volume, because a volume doesn't even include an entire arc in most cases, especially if you're looking at One Piece. But yeah, it's more like that. And it's like, I think that's why I'm okay with it, because I'm so used to reading manga that for me, it's just like, oh, okay, we finished this little segment right here, and we're continuing on to this next segment, which isn't as long, and then we go on to another segment, which is a little longer, and then it ropes back to the first part at the very beginning of the book, and that's how you're supposed to do it. That's what makes it entertaining, because you see things throughout the story. Even though there are a bunch of little stories inside of it, it still works. And I mean, when people get isekai, it just makes sense to reference it to manga or anime or whatever. But yeah, this review is, I guess, gonna be short, because I don't really have much more to say, except for I'm enjoying it. I like that it's basically got the manga layout. You could literally remove a lot of the descriptions of things and just have comic book panels and turn the whole thing into a large, massive manga or comic book, and it'd still be as enjoyable. Much easier for me to go through too as well, because I can go through manga like crazy. When it comes to books, well, I'm having fun with this one, but when it comes to books, it normally slows down for me. Have trouble reading it. When it's not in a tiny little bubble, for me, for my dyslexia to focus in on it, when there's lines, it becomes a problem. But I make do. But yeah, I definitely am enjoying this series. I'm looking forward to catching up to it. But yeah, definitely check out the Primal Hunter if you haven't. It's definitely worth getting through. I make these reviews because I get so many books in my for you or recommendation kind of thing, and some of them are hit or miss. Some of them I'll go through and I'll absolutely despise, which is really why I started making, because it's just like, I need to know. I'm someone who likes to hear someone talk about something and, you know, hear it in their voice or see them, how energetic they are, rather than reading a comment about it, because, again, dyslexia, and I don't want to focus in on someone's comment. If I'm going to spend time reading, I'll focus on the book. But yeah, I like this series. The series has been well worth it. This book has really gone into it. I'm just expecting for them to finally get to like the final boss battle, and then that will end up taking an entire book. And then they'll break it into pieces again, just like a manga. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that at all. Thank you all for watching. Talk to you next time. Toodles!